Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of FSNB Garage, and in this episode we put the new transmission on the Cobalt. Hopefully we also will put the cylinder head on and get the new clutch, which is back in there on, and yeah, hopefully that is what we can get accomplished today. I'm still waiting on some wheel bearings for the rear assembly, so that way I can button everything back up in that. I took the subframe apart. Now that's gonna go get painted. I'm gonna put all new ball joints and stuff in those control arms. The next thing to do will be to take this old transmission off. Alright, so we got the transmission off. Now there's the clutch that I put in. I mean, it looks pretty good. I got 2,000 miles on it, so I didn't really expect it to be anything kind of crazy with it. So there's the transmission. It's pretty nasty in there. I honestly don't know. I think it was the throw bearing that was making the noise in it, but now we got a new transmission for it. I also took out the coolant pipe. It's 3 10mm bolts here, there, and there, and it takes off that whole pipe just so it was a little easier for you guys to see it here. And yeah, so now next I'm going to be taking off the clutch. All right, clutch is off. As you can see, I mean, looks pretty damn good. Here's the clutch. Even that looks still brand new. I didn't expect there to be much damage. So next I'm going to try and take out this rear main seal, because we're going to be replacing that also. Rear main seal.
this nastiness in here?
I'll put the number in the description. That is coolant and oil.
Do I have any new oil around here? So this is the ugly style BMW one. That's just a floppy thing. It's the ugly one.
Never install the seals dry. Done. Alright, now I will go tear out my new flywheel and clutch kit. Alright, change of plans. We forgot that I do have to go in here and reseal the oil pan, so I'm going to do that. On the turbo kit installation, they say that you're supposed to go in here and drill a hole in the oil pan right here for the oil return. But I already have the oil return pan already, so I'm going to end up just trying to take this out and replace that with the new fitting just because. But I am going to take it out and reseal it. We already took the bolts out. It is loose. There's a bunch of bolts around the perimeter. They're 13 millimeters. There's one up here too. And once you take them out, you just got to pry in the right spot. For me, I just used a pry bar right underneath this, and I just lift it up, and as you can see now it's free. So we're gonna get this cleaned up, and all right, I kind of just didn't really film any of this because I don't think you guys want to see me scraping gasket material off for 2 hours, but I cleaned up the pan. I also took off the windage tray so that way I could clean under there because there was some fine bits of RTV and stuff I didn't want to get in the pan. I cleaned the bolts. I'm going to reassemble them. I'm either using the blue or the red thread locker. I'm thinking it's the red, but I just want to double check with my father when he gets back. I'm also going to be looking inside of the boxes for the oil drain fitting. I already removed the other one. That one was fine, but if I have a new one, I might as well use it. And then I hopefully will be resealing this pan today. Stay tuned. Alright, now it's time to seal up the pan. That's the part number that we're using for the Delco stuff. I just want this on tape so if it leaks I can blame you. No. And then once we put it on, the bolts get tightened to 18 foot-pounds. Okay, line up the dowel. Alright, and now I'm going to tighten up the bolts and get it torqued up. Alright, all the bolts are torqued up. Now I'm going to let that dry so that way tomorrow I can flip it over and start working on the cylinder head and timing chain. So what I'm doing here is I'm just cleaning all the ARP bolts, and then you put them in the block hand tight. You don't really need to go more than that. I am kind of snugging them up just a little bit because I've heard of them coming out, so to prevent that, if I just snug them, it'll be good. So yeah, I've been using a 3/16. I'm just gonna go in there and just, you know, double check to make sure it's tight. And then I'm gonna go through all of these and get the head gasket. Alright, so we got the ARP headsets in. I just kind of, I just use these to run them down just a little bit. It's adjustable speed. I'm not cranking down on it. Don't crank down on them. Like I said, hand tighten just a little bit. I've already put the assembly loop on the tops of the threads, and now I'm going to clean off the mating surface one more time and put the head gasket on before I start putting the bolts on top of that. Alright, I put the head gasket on. That is the GM part number for the AC Delco head gasket. They're really not that expensive, and for the money, I mean, I think like a regular gasket was anywhere from like 60 bucks around, and this was right in that ballpark. So next I'm going to change out my gloves because I do not want to get my new cylinder head dirty, and then I will be putting the cylinder head on. Alright, so I got all the bolts in there with the assembly lube. Now I'm going to torque them. The torque spec on the bolts in the middle is 80 foot-pounds because I have the ARP headsets. If not, then it is another torque spec plus a certain amount of degrees because they are stretch bolts. You cannot reuse them. So these are just 80 foot-pounds. These are reusable. I'm going to go and do that now, and then I will torque the outside ones. Alright, we got those torqued up now, so all of them are torqued, and now I'm going to do the front ones. There's two right there, there's one inside there. I don't know if you can kind of see it in the corner over there, and then there's one right down there right in the middle, and those get torqued down to 26 foot-pounds. Alright, so now the cylinder head's on. I just kind of got these cam gears in there loosely. These bolts aren't torqued down because we do need to move these cams to get it in time. So here is my kit. It's a Cloyce kit. I got everything laid out. Here's the part number for you if you want to get this kit. It's a nice piece of kit because it does come with a new water pump, which is, you know, always a good thing, and it comes with the whole unit, not just the back pump like some other kits. In this, I can't use the balance chain gear because the force induction ones are different. This one does not work. I am also not going to be changing out this sprocket either because this one was literally the same one that came with the car. It hasn't failed. It looks okay, and I don't see the need to replace it. So I'm going to keep that out, and then this is just the upper guide that I haven't taken out of the packaging. So yeah, so the first step I'm going to do is I'm going to torque these down. I believe that it's 36 foot-pounds. I'm going to link all the description to all the torque specs I'm gonna link it in the description, all the torque specs for all this timing chain stuff. And, okay, quick side note, these are 37 foot-pounds. You have to use a I used just a regular punch, and you put them in these little holes, and then that holds the gear, and then you torque them. But you also need to have your crank pulley handy, because it is an interference engine, so you have to kind of move this around so that way you can get the exhaust aimed at the 10 o'clock position and the intake aimed at the 2 o'clock position. That is very important. So now with this cam gear on top and this on the intake, that on the exhaust, I am at cylinder 4 top dead center on the compression stroke. So now I'm going to put the balance chain assembly on. All right, guys. All right, so I got everything all set now. As you can see, exhaust 10 o'clock, intake 2 o'clock. The mark on the crank is at 5 o'clock. The balance chain is at 12 o'clock, 6 o'clock, and I believe it's 6 o'clock down there, if you can see it. I released both tensioners. This gets torqued to 55 foot-pounds. This is that guide bolt. I bought another one. It just goes right through. I tightened it as much as I could. I couldn't find a torque spec. I think it's 89 foot-pounds, but I just did it as tight as I could. I didn't want to go and break the thing in the cylinder head. That would have been a problem. Everything in here is 89 inch-pounds, all the little 10 millimeters. All right, so now I'm going to put on the front timing cover. There is the part number for the Felpro gasket. I'm also going to be installing, because it comes with it, a new front seal. Also because mine on the old setup pushed in a little too much. So yeah, so I'm going to be installing that now. Alright guys, so I didn't really film, honestly, anything, because I was kind of just in a rush to get this done. I got the front plate on, I got the harmonic balancer torqued down. It's I'll post the torque specs in the description, but I do believe that it was 74 foot-pounds and then 75 degrees, but I'll just have to double check that. I also put the new transmission on, the clutch, the flywheel, everything. The reason why I didn't film that, there was kind of a little issue with the clutch, but we hopefully got that straightened out and solved. So now today I think I'm just going to be putting the front accessories and drive belt on. Alright, so now I got all my parts collected. So I got the ZZ Performance, the new belt for it. I had to take this idler, that for the tensioner, and basically everything off of this bracket that mounts up to the block for the alternator. The alternator is new because of the turbo swap. They're different. It also comes with new hardware for that. And I have the AC compressor. So I'm going to install that now and get back to you in a second. All right, so You don't need to use that bracket. It goes on with those bolts. I just used a thread chaser to clean up the threads because mine were a little bit gunked up. But now that's everything on it. The AC compressor's on it, all that's on it. And everything looks good. I put the front bracket on. I used thread locker on all those bolts. Next, I will be tackling the intake manifold with the dual pass end plate. Now, when you put the smaller belts on, you want to make sure, because it's a smaller rib, that it's on the inside rib on both this and this, so that way it matches with the alternator. Otherwise, it's crooked and it'll probably start squeaking. So now that everything's on, I also had to take out the old crossover pipe, and ZZ Performance gives you a new one like this. The problem with it is that this is for an LDK block, so this won't work with my engine. So what I ended up doing was I took the gasket from here and I took the crossover pipe. You want to put some dielectric grease on both of those O-rings, and then I installed it. So this is what it looks like on my crossover pipe. And now I'm going to put a thermostat in so that way I can attach the oil cooler, the dual pass end plate. When you do this, you have to unbolt all 7 of these. They're 10 millimeters, and then that will come off. You also have to make sure that, I don't think you can really see inside there, but you get all these little washers off, because those are important. And then now what you do is I'm going to lube up these O-rings, put one on each side, and then I'll show you what's next. And then once you're all set with that, you want to make sure that this O-ring is not damaged in any way. And mine looks pretty good. I mean, it wasn't leaking before, so we're going to use it. Make sure that you lube up all the old rings. I put white lithium grease on, I put dielectric grease on there. And make sure that you don't have any O-rings or washers down in the bottom in the back side, because there's 4 O-rings on this side and then 4 washers, and then the same on the other side. So you just gotta make sure that all the old ones are out before you put the new ones in. And now I'm gonna put the end plate on with the 7 bolts and tighten it down. All right guys, the dual pass end plate's on. So now next I'm going to clean up this mating surface a little bit, and then I am going to put it on the engine. Alright guys, so now I'm going to put this on with the new EC Delco intake gasket. There's the part number for everyone following along. And now I'm going to install this, and we'll get right back to you. Alright guys, so I got the adapter plate mounted. Now, the bolts that are supplied in the kit for the throttle body, they were a little bit too short, so I had to go run down to the hardware store and get some new bolts with some spacers. Modified by that man over there. Yep. Then I put the valve cover on, torqued each of those bolts down to 89 inch pounds. So that's it for the video. Thank you guys, and have a great day. Thanks.